recording the behind the scenes. This is the behind the scenes recording of the Linux Action Show.
Yep.
Season 10, episode 9.
Yep.
So the interesting tidbit here, Brian, is we had 14,000 people watch the Og Theora version using the new video tag HTML5 thing in Firefox 3.5. So it was insanely popular.
Surprised.
It also cost us a ton of money because the only place to host a file that large was on S3, and so that was very expensive. So we got to figure that
expensive. Yeah, we really got to figure that one out.
But people love the using the embedded Theora video on JupiterBroadcasting.com.
That is pretty slick.
I love that.
I can't deny how slick that would be.
All right, so
to have.
I am ready to kick off the show. So whenever you want to, I will hit the red button.
The red button? You mean for season 9, episode 9?
Yeah, season 10.
That's right.
Yeah.
Season 9 was a previous season.
Yeah, previously on the Linux Action Show.
Let's just recreate season 9. let's do like a fast forward. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2. It's not recording.
You have to hit record.
I did. I think this
well, hit record better and. And welcome to Season 10, Episode 9 of the Linux Action Show. My name is Brian, and with me, for the first time ever, is Chris.
Not quite. Hey, Brian. The U.S. Postal Service runs Linux.
The entire thing?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how much of it does. But I know it's at least around 1,300 servers have been moved to Linux.
1,300?
Yeah.
That's a lot of servers.
Yeah, they moved it from a Unix backend system where everything was written in COBOL. And or I think
of course it was.
I mean, I'm just grabbing.
Of course, the entire postal service was run by COBOL.
I was just getting.
I'm
just gleaning this from the Slashdot article.
Of course, that's the way it was.
They check this out, dude. 1,300 servers handle 40 million transactions a day.
Jeez.
And
mother of mercy,
it costs a lot less than the whole Unix Solaris system they had in place before. They haven't said how much, but they just said it's a significant savings.
Well,
it took them over a year to make the transition, but anything with the U.S. Post Office.
How many servers was that again?
1,300.
So 1,300 servers is somehow magically cheaper than what they had in place before.
Well, I don't know how many Sun boxes they had before.
But I'm just saying that means they must have had like a bajillion.
They didn't
Sun
say
boxes.
how much cheaper. They just said significant.
Well, I mean significant.
Significant is significant.
Plus, good Lord.
Cool story, though, so I'll link to that in the show notes if you want to read more, because that's just kind of a very high-level thing. Hey.
I just hope that means that our stamp prices will go down.
I did think, when I saw this story, I thought, if there's one place that really should go open-source software whenever it's even remotely possible, it is public services, because it's our tax dollars that are paying for it.
Well, and not the U.S. Postal Service. That's a company.
Okay, but public services should be running open source software.
But your point, unrelated to the current topic, still stands. Is that what you're saying?
Am I right? I mean, shouldn't.
I don't disagree with that.
I think whenever it's a government,
they should have as much control over it as they can, and they should be able to cut as much of the cost as they can.
And if they're spending money on it, it should be something that if you buy a proprietary vendor software, you're not really helping out the overall community of the nation.
What if you're buying proprietary software, and that makes jobs?
Damn it, Brian.
Oh.
Dang you, Brian. Okay, so I want to talk about something.
No, I still think it's a good idea.
You had a haiku moment this past week.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I'd like to talk a little bit about that before we get into the Linux Action Show. Let's just talk about another kind of cool open source deal.
So we talk about a lot of stuff. We throw around a lot of, we tried this, we tried that distro, but haiku, for those of you who aren't aware, which you should be.
Brian?
Haiku is BIOS, the old B operating system, which almost became Mac OS when Apple wanted to buy BIOS but didn't for various reasons, and then they bought Next Step, and then that became the OS 10, et cetera, et cetera. Well, BIOS is still this very, very cool system. It's very fast. It's very functional.
Very dead.
It is very, very, very dead. Yeah, the company is gone. They actually got bought by Palm, and then Palm never did anything with it.
Now, is it actually based off BIOS source code, or is it a clone?
No. Basically what they did, and this is great. They took BIOS, because the BIOS is out there. You can get, there's a free version of BIOS you can get. Like, not free as in open source, but free as in it just doesn't cost anything.
Okay.
So they got it, and then one by one they started replacing each of the components with an API and binary compatible version, open source version of that component. And so bit by bit, it becomes a completely open source system.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
So it's not using the same code from back then.
No. and it is very, very, very
Sounds
cool.
like a patent trap to me, dude. It sounds like an IP nightmare.
Yeah,
because it sounds like they're just basically reverse engineering everything.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
But of course,
with that.
who's gonna go to
Palm.
court over?
I think that Palm owns it.
Yeah, they do, but they're not going to go over to court over
that
over old technology and BIOS.
It's not going to be, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But
so you played with it this week.
I did. I played around with it a little bit because they finally have like a kind of an experimental wireless stack with some wireless driver support. So I put it on my netbook, farted around with it. It's got some issues for sure, but holy guacamole, you guys.
Really?
It is crazy fast.
Crazy fast.
It runs very, very well.
Huh.
The apps that are there, which I'm going to admit, are not that many.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, there are ports of various web browsers, and there's lots of stuff available, and there's old BIOS software that runs some of it.
Yeah.
But it's
so you
really,
can run the old software.
Yeah.
So they really did maintain the compatibility.
Yeah, sort of. But it's a very cool system. And
so when you say fast, give me an idea what you mean, because there's different interpretations.
Okay, here's the thing. So over the last 3 years of Linux Action Show, it seems like every time a new release of a distro is coming, they talk about how we're making it boot faster.
Right, yeah, for sure.
This freaking thing boots faster than damn near any Linux distro I've
Really?
ever seen. And
Like a few seconds or what?
I don't know, 10 seconds maybe.
Cool.
Bam. It's just up. It's
Nice.
great. It's like an old Amiga that way.
And
they
you're-
just turn
you're,
on and they're there. That's the other thing. The old Amigas, like Amiga OS
here we go.
3.1 on an old
geez.
68K machine,
What have we
bam,
started?
up and booted on a fully multitasking, nice windowing system
Oh, boy.
with like an awesome thing with icons all over your
Talking about
desktop
Amiga.
in like 5 seconds. It's crazy.
Ugh.
And here we
You know what
are
else
in
boots fast?
2009.
You know what else boots fast?
What boots
Windows
fast?
3.1 boots fast.
No, it actually really doesn't boot that fast. If you benchmark
Just
turning
saying.
it on, the BIOS, DOS loading, and then Windows 3.1
Oh,
loading
sure,
on top
if you
of
count
that,
DOS loading.
dude, seriously, are you gonna
I would
throw that
love-
at me?
If you could load it on a system today, I guarantee you it would be like a 2-second boot.
You got a point there.
But interesting.
You got a point.
So you're able to run
So no,
Haiku
so
on your
Haiku-
HP Mini 1000.
Yeah, I mean it's got a few quirks and it's got a few problems, but just the same.
So is
honestly,
it open? It's like
yeah, it's open source.
parts. Oh, it is open source.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal. It's incredibly fast. It looks nice. I mean, it looks like the old BIOS, which is very yellow, which not my favorite color in the world.
I don't know.
But let's be honest, Ubuntu is brown, so and Fedora looks like Windows 2000. So what exactly are we comparing against here? So I was just actually really impressed with it. I was a big fan of BIOS back in the day.
Back in the
but
Dizzle,
we're talking,
you mean, Brian?
We're talking the 1990s here when I was a big fan of BIOS. I
So-
mean, the late 90s. So it's been a long time.
Could you use it?
No,
for,
not a chance. There's no apps.
No, you mean you
There's-
couldn't even use it like just to browse the web and read
Oh,
an
you
app?
could. Yes, you could do that. Yes, for
So it's
sure.
got like a web browser,
Yeah, it's got multiple web browsers. And
like any one that I actually would use.
yeah, absolutely.
It's got the Fox,
It's got the Fox. You don't have any Flash.
right?
At least not that I know of. If
Right.
anyone who uses Haiku, knows how to get Flash working on it, let me know. But I really don't think there's any Flash available.
Huh.
But it's just very, very cool. So I mean, what really struck me about it is that we've got a lot of these different open source projects around, and a lot of them just don't get a great deal of public exposure. Like Haiku is a big one.
Right.
Eros and Morphos, which are kind of these open source Amiga OS inspired systems that are very, very, very cool. You've got things like PCBSD and the like, and a lot of these just really don't get much love, but they are spectacular in their own right, and in some ways really even blow the doors off of what we've got on the Linux side of things.
I hear ya.
Now
I mean,
they aren't usable on a day-to-day basis for the most part.
They're neat, but they're not practical.
But what I would like to see is more of us on the Linux side, especially the people who are in charge of deciding the direction of these distros, look at what those other OSs offer, because they offer some serious stuff. I mean, the speed and awesomeness of BIOS is phenomenal.
So you installed it
PCBSD
on
has
a,
the
on a
installers
Mini
and-
1000, video card supported,
Yeah.
wireless supported.
wireless pseudo supported.
Really? Not so great?
It's still early.
Honestly,
but it's
kind of
getting
sounds
there.
like Linux like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, similar.
Only maybe with less apps.
Well, except realistically, you have Abbey Word and you have things
Oh,
like
it
that.
has Abbey Word?
Yeah, there's
I
Abbey
do
Word.
like me some Abbey Word, I'll be honest with you.
What's that other Office suite called?
Not OpenOffice?
No, that for-pay Office suite. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Star Office?
No, not Star Office. The other one.
Microsoft Office?
No, I forget. But there's another
Corel
Office.
Office?
Okay, now you're just jerking around with me on this
Google
one.
Docs?
Yeah, it's Google Docs. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Hey, you want to read
Docs.
this for a second or what? Can you see that? What's your deal?
All right.
Read that for
Hey,
me.
I would like to point out to everyone who's not currently in the know that the Linux Action Show is brought to you in part by GoDaddy.com. Starting at just $3.99 per month, Linux shared hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to GoDaddy Hosting Connection, the place to install over 30 free applications sure to help you get the most from your hosting plan and website. Plus, as a listener of the Linux Action Show, enter code Linux, that's LINUX, in case you didn't know how to spell Linux. Do it all uppercase, you'll be happier with the results. That, when you check out and save an additional 10%, I'm trying to go off script and at the same time read the script, it screws with my brain here. When you check out and save an additional 10% on any order, some restrictions may apply. See site for details, get your PC internet now at GoDaddy.com.
You know, cool little quick GoDaddy story. I had someone Twitter me last week, and they said, "Hey, Chris, I'm thinking about doing the GoDaddy hosting thing. I'm gonna use your code Linux."
That's
awesome.
nice.
I said, "Hey, by the way, you could also use Linux 20. That saves you 20% on hosting.
Yep.
Linux will save you 10% on your order. Linux 20 saves you 20% on your hosting." So he's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about doing it, but my big holdup is Drupal because he wants to do Drupal.
Yep.
But he's. I think
I do like the
I think he's
Drupal.
just not on the more comfortable side of setting up something like that. Dude, GoDaddy hosting connection, one-click deployment.
That's the thing. When they say like the whole 30 free applications thing, what they're really saying is that they have like this control panel set up. You click a button, boom, you have WordPress.
And it's like,
boom, you have
it's
Drupal.
Like,
it's great.
It's not like it's not just like some hostings where you have like cPanel or whatever, and they have like
No.
they have like Fantastico scripts.
They've got their own thing.
It's like this whole
Yeah.
like community site with user reviews and comments. It's like when you go to Newegg to buy something, and then you have like everybody gives it egg ratings and comments. They have that for all the different stuff they have.
It's actually pretty slick.
It's way more than 30, but it's 30 like of all the really awesome things like
Yeah.
Drupal and WordPress.
Yeah,
and
30 of the ones that you're
Joomla and
likely to
PHP
install.
and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. And big thanks to GoDaddy for hosting. And they do host a lot of our files. And
They actually do. Yeah.
for supporting the Linux Action Show.
Thanks, fellas.
Hey, cheers to GoDaddy.
Cheers to GoDaddy.
All right, Brian. Let's do the news. Stopped recording.
No way. You did that just now?
I did.
Holy F-bombs.
F-bombs.
F-bombs being dropped.
Hey, Brian.
Everyone drops those F-bombs. Yes, Chris?
F-bombs.
F-bombs. Oh, we find F-bombs funny. We find F-bombs funny.
Hey, what do you think about Chinese food time? Aw.
I do. I
Hey,
like
look
Chinese
at MIB 25 TXI. Use Linux 20. Thanks, dude.
Thanks, MIBT05TXI.
You're the rock stars. I really do appreciate it.
And now immortalized.
Is it just me or does the stream quality suck balls? It might be sucking balls. Brian, is the stream quality sucking balls?
Let me take a look at the stream quality and see if it sucks balls. Hey, guys, is it just me or does the stream quality look awesome right now?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome.
We might be pushing too much.
We might be pushing too awesome.
We might be pushing too many bits.
We're pushing the envelope here, guys.
We're we're sitting on a nice 25 megabit up FiOS connection, so we might
sure
be
as heck
pushing
are.
too many bits.
It's gorgeous.
It's a bit crappy, but it's good. It was a bit crappy. No, your connection, Rob. It's you. You're a bit crappy.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
I don't think Chris is kidding. He doesn't
No.
kid about that stuff.
No, Rob and I love you.
Chris.
Love you, Rob.
Chris.
What?
What's new in the news this week?
Oh yeah, dude. All right, here we go.
Here we go.
I was having a good time. And 3, 2.
What's new in the news this week?
All right, Brian. We got so much good news. I didn't even know where to start. So I went with the story that made me giggle just a little bit because of the image they used. So you'll have to check out the link in the show notes because it's funny to me.
It's a good picture.
It is. It's it's a Pokemon joke. Google Chrome.
Pokemon joke.
I'm going to talk about Google Chrome as our first story just because we covered it kind of a lot last week.
Yep.
Or, I mean, last episode.
You mean
last fortnight.
Chromium?
Chromium. Yeah,
Yep.
Chromium. Which will turn into Chrome. So Google Chrome, not the OS, the browser. I'm not talking about the OS. That is brand name confusion. Only like Microsoft could do. It
no. It turns out Google can do brand name confusion too.
Yeah, that's right. I just got a shout out. It's doing great. There's actually there's a little trick now to get Flash working, and the latest builds have native theme support. Brian, what do you think of this? You're kind of a picky SOB when it comes.
I'm a really picky
when
SOB.
it comes to your theme support. I mean, what do you think of their now integration with they get the right what's that? What the decorator bar called? They get the right decorator.
Yeah, the window jewels. Yeah.
Jewels. So what do you think? Do you think it's looking pretty good? Do you like the direction?
Actually, yeah, they did a nice job.
All right, well, that's all I wanted to say, just as a follow-up story.
No, it is really nice to see this actually happening, because I mean, we kind of felt left out when Google came out with Chrome. They basically gave a giant middle finger to the entire Linux world. I
agree. All right, so
and it's really nice to see this.
While we've got Chrome on the brain, let's talk about Chrome OS.
Okay.
I got to throw this out there.
Okay, let's talk about all the great details that we have about it.
I got to throw this out there. This is becoming
a
pattern with Google. Not that they're not delivering. I mean, they did this with Android, not enough details, and somebody balked at them, and then they came out with the details, and somebody had to retract the next episode.
I did.
Brian.
I did have to,
But this, hey, we're doing this, tease, is really annoying. So
it's
here's
getting
what we know.
old.
Google
it's
is
very Mac fanboyish.
Google is going to release an operating system called Chrome. The same thing they call their browser, because it's going to basically just be their browser.
Why the hell would they do that?
They already have an operating system that is Android that they should just be releasing Chrome for. They have a web browser. It's like Chrome, but it's not Chrome. And it's going to be primarily initially for netbooks on
it's
Intel
essentially
and ARMs.
Chrome. The browser on the Android platform is essentially Chrome.
It's not called Chrome, though. So now you've got Android, which can and is already running on netbooks. You have got Chrome, the web browser. You have got a web browser on Android that is not Chrome, and now you have Chrome OS. This reminds me of like in the early, like around 2000 in the late 90s when Microsoft came out with .NET, and .NET was just kind of like this nebulous thing. First there was going to be Exchange.NET. Hailstorm
was going to be this series of .NET services that was going to be like your that Windows Live and Hotmail all integrated together with web services.
You would say, what is .NET? And you would go, .NET, well, it's a lot of
for
things.
a while, until they solidified it as .NET is this framework and development environment, it was this nebulous concept.
It seems like it took a really long time to get there.
It took a really long time to get there because for a long time, Microsoft kept tacking on, had all these little side things that were part of .NET.
So, the mainstream pundits have basically taken this story and turned it a little bit towards is this good for Linux? Is this bad for Linux? And Brian, what say you, Brian LAS of the Linux Action Show, is this good for Linux or is this bad for Linux? Does it matter for Linux?
I don't know that it matters.
I don't think it's...
What is it?
Here's my
take. It doesn't matter if we don't know what it is.
How is it bad? It's based on Linux kernel.
That's fine.
So it's probably going to result...
So like the Kindle...
It's probably going to result in better hardware support, but the Kindle's one device.
Why would it result in better hardware support?
Because if you're HP and you want to be able to run Chrome OS, you're going to try to get drivers in the Linux kernel.
But HP is already doing that with their Ubuntu-based mobile internet experience
for sure. But
with their laptops.
But so if they have
difference?
If they have 5 netbook lines and 4 of them run XP and 1 of them run Linux now, well, in the future, maybe one of them is going to run Ubuntu, one of them is going to run Chrome OS. I mean, it's probably going to, in the end, it's probably going to result in a diversification of additional hardware for Linux.
Okay.
The other
That's
thing
fine. I don't have a problem with that.
More Linux in more hands means more people that are going to learn Linux, know Linux. IT guys are going to have to support Linux. So that's also good.
No. What does that mean, though? If we're talking about learning Linux, are we talking about learning GNOME, learning KDE, learning Linux development, learning how to use Bash?
The backside.
What?
The bottom of Linux, the insides.
The bum
side.
The Linux bum. Is that what we're talking about?
Tweaking devices, this and that to get to work. Get this working on your network. Get this to do that. Those kinds of things that when employees start getting, when you're road warriors, that you're a company and you want them to be able to email when they're on the train commuting back and forth from work, but you don't want them to buy an entire laptop, so you're going to get them a netbook and it's going to run Chrome OS, and then the IT guy's going to have to learn how to support that. That's going to generally be good. I mean, it's not going to hurt Linux in any way.
I don't think it'll hurt anything.
I don't see an end game in this in where it doesn't play out well for Linux.
Yeah, it's fine.
They're also actively asking for open source developers to get involved. That seems good.
That seems cheap.
I want to punch them in the face though for calling it Chrome OS. I really do.
No. If they're actively asking, are they actively asking for open source developers to get involved, or are they saying we want to pay you open source developers to work on this?
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, if they're just saying
Google has shown that they will pay for stuff.
They have.
Well, they do.
They make most of their money by not giving back to the community.
Well, sure, but they also
No,
I'm about to tell you. Are you going?
That's the case.
I'm about to drop some knowledge.
I don't know.
I'm about to drop some knowledge up in here, B-Rye.
All right, I'm
here we go,
off.
yo. Here we
drop
go.
your knowledge.
Here we go.
Knowledge drop.
Well, they paid a guy to contribute a considerable amount of code back to Wine for a while.
Okay.
They pay the Firefox developer.
Yes.
A few of them.
Yes.
All goes in. Summer of Code, that all ends up as open source code.
Okay.
So they obviously are willing to pay for open source work, is my point.
But not most of it. I mean, most of what they...
Oh, well, sure, they have 30,000 servers running Linux that they've made extensive modifications for power conservation, and they have not contributed that back.
Of course they haven't.
But they have done a lot of work.
And that's the bulk of their money. I mean, they're a marketing firm, and that's what they do. And the things that they make that are extensions on open source software that derive money from ad revenue, which is where all their money comes from, essentially, they do not contribute anything back on that. Really.
No.
Not really. So what I'm saying is, if they're coming out with this thing, and they're saying, here's this great Chrome OS, which means nothing. It's basically just saying we like web browsers or something.
My understanding
is
it's Linux kernel, custom X Windows with
the browser
that immediately launches Chrome OS into like some sort of Google JavaScript-based environment.
Right, where you predominantly use the Google online apps, the Gmail, the GDocs,
which are getting better and better.
Which are getting better and better. I'm just saying, I would like to see them.
You know what I did? Extremely geeky. I co-authored a document with my wife the other night over Google Docs. We were both live editing the document. She was upstairs.
That's really great. That's
in
really
her
geeky,
office.
yeah.
I was downstairs in my office. And
that's pretty geeky.
It's so geeky. But you know what? It was super easy and super fun. I mean, it really actually was fun because like I would do something, and we were like writing different portions of the document, and then like one would go back, and like one person for a little bit would work on just making sure all the formatting fit in, while the other person was filling in details and content.
Nice.
And it was actually very productive. I actually was a big doubter on the shared document editing, and it actually worked out. I'm just saying their applications are getting good, and this is supposed to be out in around a year.
I'm not saying against that. I actually have been impressed with how much they've improved.
Now,
for sure.
that said, I think I might have mentioned this, possibly. I want to punch them in the face for calling it Chrome OS.
Why would they do that?
It confuses things.
And seriously, so you have, and they've made a point
Probably
of saying that
Web
Chrome
OS was taken.
That's the stupidest name. Seriously, Palm, why Web OS? That's a really stupid name.
I don't know. But their SDK is called Mojo. I mean, that's kind of rad.
I do like Mojo.
Yeah, Mojo's good.
But seriously, so they said that Chrome OS is targeted at the mobile market. Android was built for the mobile market.
I don't understand why they're not taking Android and extending it this way.
Are they saying, is this an open admission that Android sucks
I don't
and they're
know.
going to ditch Android?
I don't think so.
Or are they saying that did they mean something different? I mean,
think
come on,
they're
saying this is getting silly, Google.
And this is not a good way to go. I think they're saying Android is just for phones, and Chrome OS is going to be for
netbooks.
But you've got people at Dell who obviously want to run Android on their netbook. So you've got hardware vendors out there that want to take your product and they want to sell machines on it, and instead you're like, oh no, wait a year and you can get ROS that runs a web browser.
And just a web browser.
Stupid.
It's really stupid. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe there's something more to it. Maybe Google has this idea where they're going to change the world.
But if
that's the case, I'll eat my words on this one.
To me, Chrome OS sounds like an excuse for a vendor to sell a laptop for cheaper. Or a netbook, I mean. Yeah. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a netbook that is obviously compatible with Linux, and then you're just going to blow it away and load your own full Linux desktop.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the gist of it.
That's what I'm going to do. Mary Public
but
might...
at that point, why not just load FreeDOS or just Linux in general on it? I mean, what's the point?
Because there's vendors
out
there...
Or Intel's
Well, that will be
Moblin.
interesting. That will be interesting. Because there's vendors out there, dude, that they just want...
There's options.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I think the whole thing's kind of stupid myself. But, we'll see. All right, so keeping in the
stupid.
Keeping in the little mobile device area.
I like mobile devices, so let's talk about this more.
Let's talk about this one, Brian. So this is probably something you've been paying attention to. Nokia
probably not.
Adopts Qt's toolkit for the next generation MAMO platform. So you have the N810, which has a little window environment on it that's completely GTK.
It's called Hilden. It's like a portable GNOME.
It's all GTK framework, right?
Right.
So they
and it's phenomenal
on the next device. Now they're not dropping GTK support,
but
they're adopting Qt.
Okay, not quite.
They're not.
Okay, so what's
They're not dropping either. They're making
no,
both of it.
No,
right?
This is not quite accurate. Ours article is not quite accurate.
Ours.
So what's happening is the next device is going to use something called Fremantle. Fremantle is the code name for the next version of the Maemo platform,
right?
Which is based on, or at least previously, Hilden, which is like the portable GNOME.
Which is GTK.
Which is GTK. Now, what they're doing here, this next one is very heavily Clutter-based and still very GNOME-based.
Oh, okay.
Is this next one is Fremantle. That's what the next device or series of devices is going to be based on. After that, they're switching over to Qt, almost entirely.
So the next Nokia device we're going to get
is going to be Fremantle, which is going to be very heavily Clutter-based.
So...
Now, there'll be Qt on there, so Qt applications,
okay.
GTK applications,
it sounds
and
like to
Clutter,
me,
which will be mostly GTK.
It sounds
will work
like
fine.
if I want to make an app for the Nokia device, am I going to spend hours and hours and hours writing a GTK app, and then they're going to ship a piece of hardware that's going to be Qt focused?
Theoretically, your applications right now,
I could write Qt now.
Right, you could write Qt right now, or you could write GTK right now, and it will work on all of the next devices. It's just that the overlying architecture, the main window manager,
ours really did get this wrong, because I'm reading now what you're talking about here, and this is totally not what ours said.
You know what's ridiculous?
I'll link to this one instead of ours article.
Ars Technica. I normally like ours, but over the last month, every time I go there to read an article, it's technically wrong.
What's up with that?
It feels like the people that are writing for ours currently just don't they aren't involved at all.
It's
with
just there's so much to cover.
About.
They can only do the surface details.
Yeah, they read through the first paragraph of a press release, and then they write a 5-page document on it. Ours goes into really big detail, and sometimes it's great. But half the time, it's just I have to cock my head and be like, well, not only is your opinion kind of weird, but that was technically inaccurate, ours.
All right, so let's cap off the hardware section.
But no, on the Maemo side of things, that's actually really cool.
All right.
Basically, what it says is that no matter what your programming interface or preference is,
oh, okay,
right, you can use it on the Maemo devices.
Gotcha.
So GTK, Qt, Clutter,
it'll
awesome. Work. All of those will work.
And you'd want to use Clutter because you get the fancy.
Right, but you also get a lot of fancy with Qt also.
Do they have the Kwin stuff, or how do you get? I know Clutter is designed to be very eye-catchy, right?
Clutter is designed to be very eye-catchy. Now, Qt, the current versions of Qt, 4.5 and going forward, have a lot of animations built in, a lot of very cool effects and whatnot, all built into it. It's just that KDE takes advantage of that, but you don't need KDE and Kwin and all that to take advantage of all the cool stuff of Qt.
I gotcha. Yeah. The noob understands. All right, Brian.
Good job, noob.
Now, let's cap off the hardware section of the news docket with a story about Intel, because Intel, they make some hardware, I've heard.
One or two pieces, yeah.
Maybe you've heard of them inside.
They became popular in the late 90s with their personal computer.
Okay. I was going to go into a thing about how the Intel chip revolutionized it, but I'll leave it. Are you
going to leave that one?
Yeah.
All right.
You can look at it.
As long as you leave that one.
All right, Brian. So let's talk about Intel here and how Intel has seems to be keeping a Linux... what is it called when you have when you're playing Go Fish and you have a variable card that's can be anything you want?
A boring game. I think that's what you call it.
Go Fish is epic, and do not talk bad about Go Fish.
Go Fish can suck it because Go Fish is the stupidest game I've ever played.
Do you want to? Do you? No. I guarantee if you and I played a game of Go Fish, we'd have a great time.
You know what? I would rather sit here right now and play a solitaire version of Chutes and Ladders, just all by myself, and then at the end declare I win in a girly voice and replay it. Then play Go Fish.
Here's what we'll just have to end this little thing about Go Fish on is that I'm right. All right. So Intel is keeping a wild card in their back pocket. See, that's what I was looking for. And wild card is Linux. That wild card is Linux. And here's
you could have used poker. You could have said when you have a wild when jacks are wild in poker.
Poker's great, but Go Fish is epic.
Okay, so in Uno.
All right.
Wait, what were we talking about?
So
really, we should stop making the Linux Action Show and just make a boring card games show.
So now, individuals aside, who do you suppose is the number one? Now, I'm not talking about just people.
Dollars
I'm talking about
or
company.
code.
Who is the number one code contributor to the Linux kernel?
Number one to the Linux kernel.
Company, not individual. Obviously, Linus and
number
Alan
one company code contributor to the kernel. IBM.
No,
Intel?
No, good guess. Okay, well, number one is Red Hat. They got a ton of dudes working at Red Hat that work on the kernel. That's number 2.
I figured they were in the top 3, but I didn't know.
Now I'm not talking. Now, if you factor in, if this is weird. Okay, hold up for a second. Number 2, who's officially been named, is Intel. There's a third person there's a third entity in there who goes unnamed. That's the actual number 2 contributor to the Linux kernel in terms of source code.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It just means that there's somebody who's not taking credit.
That feels very spooky.
I don't know what it means. And then Intel, though.
You know what would be funny? If that was Microsoft.
Or SCO.
You know what? We should totally assume it's a joint venture between Microsoft and SCO and Apple.
Yeah.
They all joined together, formed a sub-corporation that's called Unnamed with brackets around it.
Right.
And that's the one that contributes the second or third amount to the Linux kernel.
So 6.9% of the code contributed in the Linux kernel so far in 2009 has been from Intel. Now, here's what's interesting about this, Brian. Buckle up. So...
I'm buckled.
This is kind of an interesting indicator that Intel is kind of moving closer and closer, because back in 2007, Intel was only 2.3% of the overall new code contributed.
They've really jumped into it a lot, especially like with mobile and everything else.
Now
they're really involved.
And in 2007, they were at 2.3, and then in 2008 they were at 4.1. Now in 2009 they're at 6.9%. IBM comes in at number 4 with 6.3, then followed by Novell, and then Oracle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Consultant is listed as number 5, and then
Consultant.
And then, ready for this one?
Ready.
Fujitsu.
Fujitsu?
They must be a manufacturer of hardware that I'm just not clicking with. And then another one is Renes Technology at Analog.
Fujitsu.
Analog Devices is the next one. Atheros is in there. AMD. Bottom of the list of who's ranked. Sun Microsystems.
1% or something like that.
The number 10 is Sun Microsystems with 1.1% of the new code.
That makes sense.
I guess.
Yeah, I follow that.
I was surprised to see
that all makes sense.
I was surprised to see Oracle so high in the list. I guess maybe because of their trusted Linux, whatever that crap
They have a Linux distro, so why not?
Yeah. But interesting. I think Intel just wants to make sure that, 1, they're not totally married to Microsoft, and then that 2, that Linux runs great on their chip, because at the end of the day, they will want to see more and more Linux Intel servers sold.
To them, it doesn't matter if it's Microsoft or anyone else. It doesn't matter if it's Apple. It just, as long as they're selling more chips for a good price, they don't care.
I bet a big source of Intel's money comes from desktops running Microsoft's operating system.
Oh, for sure.
So you know, there was probably a time where a company would have been afraid of Microsoft, and I wonder if that's why you see them trend up as time goes on. That there was a time somebody probably would have been afraid of getting crushed by Microsoft if they didn't play ball game. And now these people they're out playing their ball game, they're playing the Linux ball game, they're playing the Haiku ball game. I don't know. And so it's just interesting to see as time has gone on
the Haiku ball
that
game.
Intel's kind of opening up the floodgates.
You don't
want
to make that Haiku large user base too mad.
No, you want to keep those Haiku users.
Sink your hardware products.
Right? All right, so let's talk about some software for a little bit, Brian.
Can we?
The next story on the news docket.
Oh, I like this one.
For this week. Exciting updates on the road to Banshee 2.0. Now, if you don't know what Banshee is, you probably don't listen to our show.
You haven't listened to the show. Banshee's awesome. It's a music jukebox. It's good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Now, they're making some radical UI changes.
Radical UI change options.
Oh, this isn't going to be...
No. This is an option.
It's not bad. It's very Zune player.
That is the netbook version.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very compact though. It is. So it looks very Zune. Then if you've seen the later versions of Zune software,
it does have a Zune. It's the gradient, I think, that almost gives it the Zune-ish
and this
look.
3-column approach too. Right? Isn't the Zune? Not quite, but kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and the play thing like this right here. The rest of this is You can see the picture of what we're talking about.
We'll link to it. But basically, they're coming up with a nice new UI that for Banshee that will fit nicely onto a netbook screen.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. And it does actually look pretty nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd use it for my big desktop version. I think I'd still use the current Banshee UI.
If you've seen the Zune player, it's a little frilly. They've got
it is
a little over the top, and this is more
kind of like
practical,
a subdued version,
more
of that.
functional.
Yeah,
but
simplified.
But it still it still looks good,
and it still has the nice album art view. I like the album art view they've got going on.
Nice.
It still has all the functional controls, but it gives the album art animations and everything.
That would look very good on a netbook.
The Banshee team has done a pretty good job. Now, what they have been talking about a little bit,
what do you think of this?
Kind of weirds the heck out of me. So explain this as best you understand.
And I guess this is actually something that's been working in the works with almost a year now, according to what it looks like from the people that have been blogging at the Banshee Project. And, you know, we're huge fans of Banshee, so I follow it kind of closely. And I think also, just aside before I get too far, I'm pretty sure this will be the next story, but all of the patent promise stuff that Microsoft's been talking about, all of that covers all of the mono code that Banshee's written in.
Yeah, all of it, yeah.
So essentially mono is completely covered by that.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. They really want to take Banshee in the direction of a platform. And they're developing...
To build other apps on top of.
One of the things they're talking a lot about, and this probably came from the kind of slick album art thing they're talking about, is a back end for like a photo manager. Like take FSpot and then take the top of FSpot, drop out the bottom, and then sandwich FSpot's top and Banshee's bottom.
Right.
And then you got FSpot Banshee sandwich. That sounds kind of tasty.
Here's the thing.
When you say it like that, it kind of sounds good.
FSpot and Banshee are kind of like two of my favorite apps, like in a long time. So,
but
this is a sandwich I want to eat.
The direction, though, which people have kind of been concerned about, is it's more of a not focusing just solely on making an amazing music program and more on technology is awesome.
Yes.
And that sometimes I think is a sensitive spot in the Linux community, because in open source we kind of have a general scratch your own itch, which a lot of times is how badass of a platform or foundation can I build?
Right.
And then you build these amazing platforms for everybody to use, but then nobody ever wants to use those because they're building their own platform, so you build a demo app to show off how cool it is.
Right.
But the demo app's half-baked because you're not really interested in the front end, you're more interested in the awesome platform.
Right.
And I think there's some people concerned about the direction they're going. Now,
that's justifiable.
My response to that was, well, if Banshee makes it as the default music player in Ubuntu's desktop, I don't think that's going to be a problem, because they're going to have such a pressure to keep the desktop momentum going. Yep. That won't be an issue. Now, there is talk, though, that Banshee might not end up in the next version, in Karmic or whatever it's called, of Ubuntu, because the release of the next version of Banshee and the release of the next version of Ubuntu might not sync up.
I'm going to say this straight up right now. If that actually happened, that would be a huge mistake on Ubuntu's part.
I initially felt that way, too. I was about to get all up on
your mind?
The LinuxActionShow soapbox. I was reading developer blogs from Ubuntu Planet, and there's some actually legitimate concerns in terms of usability, like and a few other things that Banshee does kind of need to get before you probably want to make it what has become the de facto flagship desktop operating system for Linux.
Yes.
There's a few key things that their music player should have. Yes. And I often...
There really are.
I harped in the forum, I don't know how much on the show, I harped in the forum a lot on Fedora for, in the latest version, shipping a volume control applet that didn't work so good, so they had to ship a second volume control applet. And my response was to that, you didn't need to ship that first volume control applet. You should have just waited till it did the job. And people say, yeah, but for testing. I'm like, no, you didn't have to do that.
Right.
And so if Ubuntu would have shipped an MP3 OGG player before it was ready, I probably would have been upset about that.
For sure.
And reading their reasons, I kind of make sense. I would really like to see it, though, because I do think in terms of overall functionality, design, modern feeling, I do think Banshee beats it.
Yep,
so
it does.
We'll see. Well, if nothing's firmed up yet, but there's talks. So I do think, though, that if that doesn't happen, if Banshee doesn't make it into the Ubuntu desktop, I'm a little concerned that we'll go down that technology for technology's sake path. So we do have to watch out for that. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Now, here's something I would like to throw out. I completely agree with you. I'm a little concerned about that. I like FSpot. I like Banshee. I kind of don't. I'm not a big fan of when it works. Rip out the underside and rebuild it just because. However, that made me kind of stop and think for a second.
Well, is there a reason they want to rip out the bottom of FSpot? Because it sounds like there was some concerns as to the back end of FSpot.
Yes, there are some concerns as to the back end of FSpot, and excuse me, when you're developing a lot of software projects from a common code base. A lot of times is that a good sandwich you're eating there? Good little pie there. Mm-hmm. Is it a good pie? Mm-hmm. All right, wait. Why don't you eat that pie while I talk for a minute?
I'm not trying to.
I'm no go. My mouth is full.
You called me out.
I kind of did, didn't I? He's having a little lemon pie with artificial and natural flavors. But when you have a lot of applications that are using a lot of the same frameworks anyway, it kind of makes a certain level of sense to kind of join forces and make it so there's not a whole lot of duplication.
Well,
of
here's
effort.
Their logic.
So there's one other thing on top of that. So they might be able to actually speed things up. No, that is the truth. You might be able to speed up development if you do it properly. Now,
right, because the FSpot guys can focus on an awesome front end.
Right.
And the Banshee guys focus on an awesome back end.
And front end. Right.
But that's the thing is the Banshee guys need to keep up with both then.
Man, you're spitting pie all over the desk. Now, hold on. There's another thing.
The onus on the Banshee guys, though.
Shush. I'm going to school you for a second.
Go.
All right. The other great thing is we tend to knock on a lot of Linux apps for not being well integrated with each other, for not making proper use of dbus, for not being able to read each other's file formats. Now, if we're using a standardized backend for storage of data and for processing of data, including similar views on how to display graphics, say album art, images, etc. We can much easier have everything integrated together. Now between a photo manager and a music application, that may not be that big of a deal. No, there are some good points.
Slideshow?
Yes.
Select the music from your music library.
But what I'm saying is, though,
my wife does it all the time.
It's good, but it's not like killer. But it's the start of getting closer.
On her Apple Macintosh that she uses, she brings up iPhoto, and when family's over, she's like, "Hey, you want to see a slideshow of Baby Dylan?" So she hits the slideshow button. Yeah. All of her iTunes playlists are there.
It's all available.
Boom, click, click.
Right.
Done.
So now that sort of thing becomes easier to do then. And then on top of that, if we do have to have some sort of a thumbnail style view, which for instance, FSpot had to build theirs. Banshee built theirs. In my app, in Radical Codex, I had to build my own. And there's all these different apps that have to build their own thumbnail thing.
When you're developing an application, say maybe like if you were to say this was done and in place and people were using it and you were looking at building Radical Codex today, would you go, maybe I'll take a look at going that
Absolutely. Absolutely. If there's a great solution, why not?
So I guess there's going to be, and this could actually be pretty cool, a Windows release of Banshee really soon.
Here's the interesting thing about the picture for the Windows release. It says, and I quote, Windows release, really, period, soon, period. Which
is horrible.
Windows release, really? Soon? It doesn't make any sense. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Stop doing that. But so a Windows release of Banshee, honestly, I think is probably great. I would like to see a Windows release of FSpot as well. Because honestly, FSpot and Banshee are some of the best applications in their class for doing the work that they do. And much like we talk about things like Firefox and whatnot, making it easier for people to move from one platform to another, from Windows to Linux, I think Banshee and FSpot do much of the same thing.
I think it could be a pretty good actual marriage of the two technologies. So I think people have been freaking out a little bit, but I think if you think about it, you've made some good points, and really, I'm not too worried. I think conserving where people spend their time working is going to pay off well.
Yep.
Let Banshee can already handle video and things like that. So why not do photo?
Why not do photo? Now, and we're not saying have one app that does everything. Just have one underlying backend that supports all of those different types of media and different types of views on the media. And then you can have FSpot that focuses on photos and Banshee that focuses on audio. And then maybe another app for video, like a kind of basically it would be great to have something like Miro and have Miro or something like it based on the same code base.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That would be cool.
It just opens up a lot of possibilities.
Now, so they're talking Banshee for Windows. They're talking Banshee for OS X.
Yep.
Here's why I like it. I really think your most successful migrations to Linux, like if you're in a corporation or at a school, something like that, your most successful migrations are when you do like a phased approach where you keep them in their operating system that they're comfortable with.
And slowly release one app at a time.
OpenOffice, Firefox, now Banshee.
And
then when you pull out the Windows sheet and you slip in the Linux sheet, but all of their user applications are the same interface, same file formats. It really is a lot smoother. And so having that option, plus Windows kind of has some butt options. I mean, you got Zune and you got iTunes for Windows.
But honestly, Banshee,
and some other couple ones.
So I go to work during the day, and my main desktop at work has got to be Windows because that's the day job. But just the same, if I could have Banshee there for my music, I would love it.
I know.
I would absolutely love it.
Plus, I wonder if that also means you could get FSpot, because boy, could Windows use frickin' FSpot.
Dude.
And there'd be one more thing that would make the transition easier. And that's really how we're going to pull it off.
Right.
So,
and here's the thing that I think people need to focus on. If this is managed properly, if you have good development teams structured, attacking this properly, and not from the old school way of doing this of just kind of a bunch of developers hacking on stuff, but really structure it. This means that you've got people working on FSpot and people working on Banshee, working together, kind of bring those teams together to work on this in an intelligent fashion, you could actually save a great deal of time instead of just saying, oh, the Banshee team's going to work on everything now.
Brian, doesn't that make you just want to hold hands for the rest of the episode?
I want to go kumbaya, if we could. Could
right.
we do a little kumbaya?
Let's move on to the next story on the news
move
docket.
Yeah.
Microsoft issues a patent promise to dispel mono legal concerns.
Yep.
Now, this is a community promise to the ECMA standards that apply to the C# programming language and .NET Common Language infrastructure. It does not cover things like WinForms, is my understanding. So the general reaction has been, you got the Novell and Mono guys going, awesome, and then you got
it's great.
Stallman and the free software guys going, not enough, you fail. Kind of the same song and dance, really.
It's the same thing as always.
Although it does seem to have put some water on it because, and now, Brian, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here.
I might, or I might just eat a pie.
Oh, you can have a little bite of pie right now, Brian?
I'm going to have a little bite of pie.
You can have a little pie right now?
I'm a little pie right now.
Things like Tomboy and like we just talked about Banshee, pretty much everything that uses like a GTK or native Linux UI and things like that on and uses Mono is not using WinForms, and so therefore is covered by these patent promises. If they're just using the C# language as their development language, they're covered. They're done. They're good to go.
Essentially.
Uh-oh.
But not completely.
Chris doesn't like the gray.
Okay, the thing is that what we've got here is basically a branching almost of Mono into two chunks.
Yeah, actually, the Mono team is going to do that. They're going to.
Right.
They're not. They're not so much as branching,
but there are
like
two pieces to Mono.
Making two repositories.
Right.
Totally covered. You're not going to get sued branch.
And then the one where there might be gray areas by some people's definition. While technically no legal concerns have actually been raised about some of the other areas.
Right.
Being as red hat people like to go around saying our lawyers are investigating.
They're concerned,
even though no one said they're investigating anything officially, and there is no actual details being given out except for FUD. Thanks, red hat guys. It's still nice because then there are the options there. Now it is possible to use just the Mono that's totally covered by this patent promise, and not the other parts.
All right.
So that's good.
I like that.
But so really, you want to use both. You want to use the full kit and caboodle to have the full amount of power.
What do I not get by not getting...
You don't get a lot of the stuff that is essentially .NET API compatible.
This Ars Technica article has a picture of Ballmer. I've just never seen a good picture of the guy.
No, Ballmer doesn't take good pictures. He's not that photogenic. That's not really his thing.
He is photogenic, just not in the right direction.
No, I would not call that photogenic.
It's photogenic in like
right
how,
now,
like when a monkey sticks a stick up his butt and then sniffs it and falls off the branch.
Oh, you're right. That is funny.
Yeah,
I do like pictures of that.
That's Ballmer's kind of photogenic.
Okay, you know what? I take it back. Ballmer's photogenic.
Developers, Brian.
Well, come on, that's a good point.
So now, this doesn't really feel like it's changed anything.
It changed. It doesn't change a whole lot because Microsoft already said that they were doing that. It's just that they made an official press release about it, and they made it more official.
I don't see how. But the people on the free software, excuse me, Ballmer.
Hey, Ballmer. Hold on a second, Ballmer. We're trying to talk here.
The people on the free software side of things are still just as cranky as ever, and the people on the Mono side of things...
But that has nothing to do with the reality of the situation. You know that.
Yeah.
Because it's not the people on the free software side of things. It's the Free Software Foundation and a couple of people on the Fedora project, and that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It's not GNOME developers. It's not KDE developers. It's just a couple of people that run around following Richard Stallman everywhere, trying to kiss his feet, and they're upset because the word Microsoft is somewhere in a paragraph about something.
Okay, I didn't want to get into a big Mono thing this episode, but
I don't either. But that's all it is. And you know that even if Microsoft came out and said, not only do we like everything about Mono, but we're going to write this big document that says how much we love you guys, and we'll never hurt any of you guys, and I'm going to pay everyone who uses Linux $1 million. The Free Software Foundation is going to come out and say, so this is a Trojan horse. They're trying to trap us. Even if they're not.
There is a website out there that is basically a stain on the community. They are an embarrassment. They are radicals. They make us look like a bunch of jokers.
Yes.
They devalue everything that we do by their inflammatory posts. The site
they don't like me all that much either.
The site talks about it's basically the site's about the specific. It came up during the Microsoft Novell deal, and they want you to boycott a specific company. Now, the reason why I think they're staying on Linux is because if anyone in the mainstream press, media, or industry read this, they'd think we're all a bunch of freaking lunatics. So
complete lunatics that are misinformed about everything.
They hate Mono, and there are a lot of people do. There's some Free Software Foundation blogs I read. They talk about how much they hate Mono.
Yeah.
What strikes me as ironic is it almost goes hand in hand that when all these people hate Mono, and this one site I'm thinking about has it right on the side of their page, no Mono, anti-Mono, Mono bad, yes Samba, Samba Pro, Samba good, right? Now, there is actual patent agreements. Again, no one freaked out. There are patent agreements with Microsoft and the Mono project through a third party. That agreement specifically states that the Samba project probably does infringe on some IP. There is specific things that are very gray about the Samba project. Samba ships with every distribution. Nobody's freaking out about Samba. If you think I have outdated information, then you are wrong. You need to go to our forum and read the post in there in which I talk about this. It is so much more of a red alert than Mono, but nobody freaks out about it because we have to have it. Because we would not be able to run the Linux desktop without it, because if we could never connect to a Windows share, it would be a joke.
It would be a big problem.
So it's like Mono is
half the time when people connect Linux to Linux boxes, they end up using Samba anyway.
Well, and because it's actually they've developed it so that Samba knows when it's talking to another Samba server, and it's a fantastic protocol. It's great because it's so much more of a red herring out there. It's obviously a very viable issue. Microsoft has actually, in documented legal paper, said, yeah, we think there's some infringement going on there.
Yep.
But because it's inconvenient to hate Samba, we don't. We hate Mono because, well, you don't have to have F-Spot, Tomboy, or Banshee, or GNOME do.
Right.
You don't have to
even
have
though
those things.
there's no actual documentation that says this could be bad.
If you think I'm smoking crack and you think my information's out of date, head over to jupitercolony.com. We have a forum post in there. You'll have to probably dig for a little bit.
In the Linux Action Show section in there.
And we talk about it, and it's interesting to see how.
But yeah, if you disagree with us, head over and disagree with us in there, and we can talk about it. But honestly, it makes us look bad. It makes us look real. Yeah. It makes us look stupid. Is what it makes. It makes it seem like we don't do any research. Like we, as in the Linux community, just don't read things.
Yeah, it looks like we hate things from Microsoft when it's convenient, and so it's like, how do you take those convictions seriously? How do you take what people are chanting seriously when it's just it's so ridiculous? Look into it. Inform yourself. I'll just leave it at that, and we'll move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Next story on the news docket. We'll wrap it up because we've talked about the Amazon Kindle a lot on the show. It is a Linux-powered device from Amazon to read ebooks.
I love my Kindle.
Kindle gets a bad rap from some, and then it's also got people that love it. Brian and I were both meh on the Kindle, didn't think much of it. Then we got one, and then we loved it for review. Brian went out and bought one because he liked it so much. Chris has not yet, though. They just lowered the price, so
got mine right here.
Yeah, you do.
Just pulled mine out. I love this guy.
Gen 1.
Awesome. I love Gen 1 Kindle. The Kindle 2, the new one, is very, very cool. But honestly, the Kindle 1's so great, I just don't see any need to upgrade.
I love the artwork for the screensaver because it doesn't take any power.
Fantastic. Love this thing.
Something happened that's just not that great in the last week with the Kindle. The Orwell series of books,
1984 and Animal House.
Yeah.
Animal Farm, Animal House. Animal House, great movie, not related to George Orwell in any way.
No.
Yeah.
So some people bought...
Dude, you know what? That would be great if you combine George Orwell's books of the dystopian future and combine them with Animal House
sure, you bet.
Of National Lampoon
you bet,
fame.
Buddy. Good
I
call.
think that could be a really good combo there.
Hey, give me a little fist pump, Brian. Good job.
Fist bump delivered.
So people that bought, say, 1984 over the last week noticed that all of a sudden they got completely removed off their Kindle with no warning.
Nope.
A refund was given to them, but they got pulled. And so everyone went, whoa, we don't like remote kill switches.
They freaked out.
I agree. I don't like remote kill switches.
I'm not big on those.
So it turns out the backstory here is that some independent author published through Amazon's self-publishing system, which, interestingly enough, a family member of mine has been looking into the self-publishing system through Amazon, and we were talking about how he could publish his new book on the Kindle. Using the same system, they published these Orwell series of books, like the 1984.
Against the law. The guy did not have the rights to do it.
And so Amazon had to pull the book.
Right.
Now, the question is, though, hey, if I pay good money for something, what right do you have to come onto my device and yank it?
See, now there is kind of the tricky bit, right? So, like, if you go and you buy a black market copy of a movie, and someone who
but they
legitimately,
didn't know it was black
but you didn't know it was black market, and then you know what? You got a letter in the mail that said, "Hey, you know what? I'm really sorry about this. That's not. You shouldn't have been able to buy that. Here is cash of what you paid for it. Can I have that back? I'll pay for shipping. I'll pay for everything. Let me just have that back. And if you want, you can go buy a legitimate copy." That seems legitimate to me. Now, granted, in the real world with physical media, that's almost impossible to do. It would cost tons of money.
Yes.
It would be horrible to do. Now, in this sort of environment, this is stuff that was purchased from an illegal source. Granted,
through Amazon.
Through
store,
Amazon.
though.
Now, this is a fault of Amazon's approval process.
Yeah.
So this is a problem Amazon had.
They need to get a little more like Apple, but not
quite so bad.
Yeah.
Basically, they need to do a little more due diligence to make sure people own the copyright on
which
their
they
works.
say they're now going to modify.
They're going to do a little better on that. But so I have a really hard time with this. On one hand, I do not like the idea that they could take something
Absolutely
off the Kindle. On the other hand, this is the only instance of this happening, and in this particular instance, well, they're kind of right. It is okay to pull it off there. It's a book that's readily available everywhere else. The person who sold it had no rights to sell it, and Amazon themselves issued a full and complete refund immediately, like a direct refund to everyone back. So I just don't have that big of a problem with it.
I think where things fell apart is there wasn't a warning ahead of time. It's just the book was gone and the money was in your account.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
that is. Yeah.
Amazon has the ability to send messages to your Kindle, right?
Yes.
So what they should have done...
they had the Now service they used to have.
What they should have done is they should have sent a little, hey, we're going to have to do this. Sorry. By the way, we've refunded you. Now, what probably happened is, Brian, think about rights holders of movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
The rights holder probably freaked the F out.
Oh, yeah.
Called up Amazon and said, I'm coming after your butt if you don't get this off of everything. Right the F now.
Right. So
Amazon said, oh, crap. We're trying to get all these authors on the Kindle. We don't want to freak anybody out, so we're going to try to react to this guy as fast as possible to get this taken care of. They overreacted because
they did overreact.
They're trying to prove the platform to the content owners.
Right. It's kind of like what Apple did with iTunes. They have to make sure that the content owners are extremely happy. Otherwise, there's not going to be anything available to buy, so it's going to be a dead platform.
Yeah.
So it's
here's the thing.
It's a really rough one.
I don't think they actually they don't have a Kindle version. There's no legitimate Kindle version.
No. The owners of George Orwell's works do not want currently digital versions of the works available.
That's interesting because
now,
the subject matter of 1984.
Yes. Now that is where, to me, it gets more interesting. Honestly, for me, because here's the thing: if those were available, what Amazon would have done, and they would have
substituted it.
They would have substituted it so that you would have lost a book, and the worst thing that would have happened is you would have lost your bookmark. Because you would have had a bookmark in place for one book, it would have disappeared and been replaced with an identical book, but you would have lost a bookmark.
Right.
No big deal, right? I mean, come on, guys. Even if the new book cost more, I'm almost willing to bet that Amazon would have eaten the difference.
Yeah,
because
they
don't want a PR fiasco.
Here's the thing.
So the publisher,
they don't have that option.
The publisher is the one who's at fault here. The publisher of George Orwell's works are the ones that are keeping us from being able to have these books available. They're the ones who forced us to not have the books on the device. It's not Amazon. Now, I'm not a huge Amazon apologist. In fact,
you're not. Actually.
I really dislike a lot of things about Amazon.
You like the Kindle, but as far as pretty much everything else, Amazon.
I'm not a huge fan of Amazon, but
for
honestly,
a very good reason. You have your reasons.
I have my reasons, but honestly, they did right here. Like they issued a full complete refund. They apologized, and there is legally nothing else they could do. Nothing. That's the end of the story there.
Yeah.
That is
their hands.
That's it.
Because they had to, I guess. Here's where it boils down for me, though, is to the people that own the rights to the Orwell series. If you do this, I will steal your content because I can and I will. I will pay for it if it's in a medium that I want to consume it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Kindle book. Maybe it's an audiobook. Maybe it's an actual physical book. That is not the delivery mechanism. Is not what's important. in 2009, when I can buy a movie online immediately, and I can buy music from Amazon, I can do all these different things, but I can't get your book how I want it, I'm going to get it. And the means is out there.
Seriously.
So
and
you better wake the frick up and just get it to me the way I want it.
This is the ridiculous part. So because of that, now you can just go on Usenet or torrent sites or even just normal websites because books just aren't that big. Download the text file or HTML or PDB or whatever versions of the ebook, copy it right over to your Kindle or your IREX Iliad or your Sony Reader.
You know what's funny, too,
you're good to go.
Without this ability, which I do not like this ability for them to be able to do this, without this ability, I bet you content owners would never sign up with Amazon.
No, see, this is the thing.
That's what's so bad, because
this is the problem.
I know everybody listening right there would want an ebook that they could load whatever they want on there without the ability for the person to pull the trigger. You'd probably like to have a store, but you want the store to be DRM free.
Right.
But there's no authors out there that are going to allow that.
There's the thing. There are web stores available, like for the Sony PRS reader, the IREX Iliad, etc. But the amount of books available for them is so minuscule.
And they still have rights protection, right?
And they still have rights protection, but however, they're not wireless. The thing with the Kindle
is always connected.
It's always, as long there's a switch on the back where you can turn it on and off. But the WhisperNet is free and it's over a cell phone connection and it's always on. So that means that it's always able to connect up to Amazon to sync up.
Unless you switch it off.
Unless you switch it
off.
off.
But you wouldn't switch it off.
No, because it's too handy to have on there. Even if you're not buying stuff from the Amazon store, you can use this. There's
Wikipedia's on there.
Wikipedia, many books, all these different websites
you
can go to download free content.
I was going to say.
Legitimate, legal free content.
You have
Project Gutenberg books you can browse on here, and it's phenomenal.
What's the it's like a book you go into, and its table of contents is like a bunch of Creative Commons books that are free,
and it's great.
You can download a Creative Commons book on demand
from Feedbooks. Feedbooks.com offers a book you can download to your Kindle that is literally an RSS feed converted into like an Amazon Kindle format. So you can download stuff from
So
Cory
you have
Doctorow
a feed of the latest Creative Commons books.
Or Rick Dakin, hey, good buddy of the show.
That is why the
phenomenal.
cell connection is handy, even when you're not buying from the
Seriously.
store.
Now, granted.
Now, they're not going to pull any of that off.
I've purchased 2 books on my Kindle, mostly just to see what the experience was like, just to see how well it worked. And it worked very, very well. And honestly, I dig it because those books are ebooks that aren't Kindle ebooks. They're just on my Amazon account. I could read them on my desktop.
Yeah, they're totally portable.
Bookmarks are synced.
Yep.
I can get a different Kindle
and I'll download
sync it right up. It's beautiful.
You can have a 2 Kindle household, and then you can pick up the other Kindle and you can log in and continue reading your book on that Kindle, and then you can. Yeah, it's very nice.
It's phenomenal.
They can't pull off like if you download a Creative Commons books, that doesn't have a store ID link, so they can't.
They can't
remotely delete those.
No.
But anything you buy, theoretically.
And here's the thing.
But that's no different if you buy from the iTunes Music. Well, actually, I don't know if that's true anymore. That they took off the Fairplay. Maybe that's not true anymore.
Well, now here's and here is the real thing. So if you want to get, let's say, 1984 from George Orwell, the publisher does not want you to have an electronic copy. So
Let me see if I can find it while you're talking. See if I can actually steal it if I wanted to.
Yeah, see how easy it is. It's super easy. 1984 Orwell ebook. I'm sure you'll find it.
Yeah.
Just it's in numbers. The actual name of the title is 1984 in numbers. But so this is the thing. So your only option, if you want an ebook format, is to steal it. Now, I'm not suggesting people steal it. In fact, far from it. I have a huge amount of respect for authors, and I really do feel like if you're going to read their works, you really need to do the best you can to support them.
I'm not saying. I'm saying if
but the only option available is to pirate it. Now, here's the thing: if you do pirate it, they can't take it off of your ebook reader.
That's funny.
So it's only if you buy it through the store.
So
here's the thing:
the entire book. From different sites where I'm probably at right now.
Yep.
1.3 megabytes.
And that's probably bigger than it actually is.
I bet you.
It's probably not. So it's probably more like half a meg.
So I could download that in under a second.
Yeah. See, this is the problem, and it's not Amazon's problem. Now, Amazon, I'm sure, is working diligently to try and get more books, especially classics
PDF,
like George Orwell stuff.
Yep, that's it.
Available through the Kindle store. But what can they do?
It's amazing.
What can they friggin' do? It's more like, it's like the RIAA. We all get pissed off at the RIAA for going after grandmas who think they've illegally downloaded an MP3, right? And charging them with $150,000
per file or whatever,
because they downloaded some MP3 of Christmas songs or something like that, right? So, of course, we all hate that. But the reality is a lot of the distributors, the publishers, the record labels, they don't want to have electronic versions available. Now, with the iTunes Music Store, Apple kind of strong-armed them a little bit and forced a lot of them to kind of embrace that market. And now they're doing so with, the Rhapsodies and the Zunes and all the other markets. No one's really done that on the ebook side of things. No one's really
and I think Amazon wants to, but they don't want to take like the bully approach that Apple did.
Took, right?
So that's why they reacted so fast to this whole situation.
And the thing is, Amazon can't take that approach because Amazon makes their money off of selling the actual books currently through Amazon.com.
Whereas Apple makes their money off the iPod.
Right,
and people were
Apple
either
did not have an existing store that they'd be hurting if they messed up relationships. Yeah. So it sucks.
It does suck.
I really, really dislike it.
I know that probably a large portion of you out there either can't get the Kindle where you're at or you don't care about the Kindle, which I was totally there. I thought the Kindle, I thought reading a book on a digital device was never for me. I thought the idea of the Kindle was stupid until I used it for about a week, and then I have completely changed I'm a 180 on that.
Yeah. So. I love the Kindle. Now, that said, I still, in a lot of ways, I prefer actual physical books anyway. But that's just me. It's kind of like with video games. You buy a video game, and like in the old days, you buy like a Nintendo game. You have this big, bulky plastic cartridge.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's okay. Now it's on CDs. Well, it's not going to last as long, but it'll do. Now, like the PlayStation Portable has been modified so that you only get games downloaded wirelessly on your account. So you don't have that physical thing anymore.
It's that same thing.
It's that same thing. There's something about having the tangible thing that you can just lend to a friend, let them borrow, that you can give to your kids or your grandkids, and it still works.
That's for sure, yeah.
And so I miss that. I miss that. It's with MP3s, it's that way, ebooks, games, whatever. So I
really
kind
does
of
seem
miss
to be
that
going
thing.
that way, yeah.
But if you're going to have it, it needs to be everything. Like, that's just the way it is.
What they need to do is I need to be able to, after I'm done with a book, be able to send a Kindle book to somebody else.
Or resell it.
Yeah.
Or transfer the DRM'd rights to another person.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So you could go on eBay and sell Kindle ebook for half cost. And it would be an instant purchase, and then that person wouldn't have it anymore.
You could sell a book now. You can drop it off like their stores.
At half-price books or wherever, yeah. Yeah, it would be nice. But it is a problem, but it's not with Amazon. It's with the publisher of George Orwell's books.
Yep.
What can they do?
I don't know, Brian. But anyways, it's an interesting story, and it is. It's one that's of particular interest to us because it's a device that is probably going to eventually become the de facto way students and everybody gets their book material. And this one is powered by Linux.
Yeah.
And most of them are powered by Linux.
Right. It's kind of like TiVo, TiVo's ubiquitous, and TiVo's powered by Linux. I like seeing these devices become the ubiquitous devices for what they do, powered by Linux. So I want to see Kindle succeed. Then again, the Sony PRS reader, the iRex Iliad, all powered by Linux as well.
So that's what I'm saying. But so like when my newborn Dylan is going to college, I really doubt he's going to be going to college with textbooks. He's going to be going with some type of Kindle-like device.
One ebook reader with e-ink. Yeah, for sure.
That's what he's going to do. If it's an ebook, if it's some sort of all-in-one, I don't know. It's going that way, and right now, that market is defined by Linux being the platform they're all built on.
Yep.
So it's an interesting story for us to watch as it develops because we're watching something that's going to be a huge trend in our industry down the road.
Booyah shaka.
All right, Brian. Well, that's all the news for this week.
Whoa.
Do you like that one? That was a lot of news.
That was a lot of news.
How long is this show so far? Like
over an hour.
Like 100 hours so far?
Yeah.
So
I have to tinkle.
Do you want to go tinkle? And
you mind if I go tinkle?
While you're tinkle, why don't you think about your little your segment you were talking about doing?
You mind if we crank it through on that?
Let's do it. I think. Last week was a little bit of a shorter episode.
Yeah, you don't mind.
So,
huh? You don't mind it being a little longer this week?
No, we're fine, right? All right. We have a big old Herkin jug of water. I don't even know if that shows up. Let me see. Brian has the stream up over here. All right, can you guys see this? Can you see that, or does it key out? Does it key out on the screen? Yeah, it does show up, doesn't it? Well, I got that key dialed in real good this episode, didn't I? How about this glass? Does this glass show up? This is the tricky part. If this glass shows up, I'm going to be frickin' amazed. Holy crap! That's not bad. That's not bad. Wow. Man, good job, me. Thanks, you. You're welcome. That's pretty good. That is really good. Now, what about Brian's glass? Half empty. More than half empty. Interesting. Damn. Boy, if I could just deinterlace the video, this would almost be good enough for production. How about that? That's not bad. So I don't know if you guys have seen the behind-the-scenes video that I did a long time ago of how I do the green screen, because it's not like a traditional green screen. Check this out. It's a technology called Reflect Media, and it uses a LED ring on the camera instead of like an actual green screen that I light. So watch this. I'm going like this right here. Now you see what I'm doing here. This, a little on the fly. That's a little quick. But if you've seen a Harry Potter movie where he has like this cloak of invisibility and he cloaks it over himself and he disappears, that's what they use, this type of material. They probably spent a little more money. But it's actually, I think, the same company and everything. So this actual screen itself is not green. The result of that typically is because it uses reflection, something like a glass keys out because the glass itself is reflective. Or Brian's glasses sometimes are an issue. But no, this one actually is working really good. Oh, Brian came back. He did a really good job peeing already. All right. I was just sharing with the chat room how impressed I am that the pitcher and the glass, I really got the key dialed in for this episode. It's really working pretty good. And then I wrapped myself in the Stargate gate. Did you? Yeah. That's you know how we were talking about Harry Potter today at second lunch? Well,
not in a I love Harry Potter way.
The Harry Potter movie I've seen, he has like a cloak of invisibility. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they used Reflect Media to do that.
Oh, did they really?
We're using Harry Potter technology. Oh, that's embarrassing. All right. So, anyways, I'm going to do. I keep meaning to do more episodes, in-depth looks or whatever on that stuff, but
yeah.
Chris is a busy camper.
I keep meaning to do more coding with Brian's.
I know, dude. We are some busy guys.
Jeez, man.
All right.
Jeez.
So, you tell me, do you want me to throw it to you?
Yeah, I can just kick it off at the beginning.
Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, why not?
All right, you're going to talk a lot.
Yeah, go ahead and ask questions, though. Feel free.
All right.
Or you can just eat a lemon pie.
Ooh. I need to get mute buttons over here. You know what we need? Those, like the cough drop thing? Where you
can just hold it for a second.
We do need those.
We do need those, yeah.
Now that we're up here? I'm trying to think how you do that, because you have to run a separate cord to the thing, though.
It's a lot of cords.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. In 3, 2.
You have not recorded an audio track. You have not armed an audio track. There you go. That's better.
Brian, development sometimes is a very tricky thing, and one of the hardest parts of it is not always the actual code aspect of it, it's the people aspect of it.
And I
wanted to have a little Stargate side chat with you. If you're watching the video, you get the reference.
Yeah.
A little gate side chat with you, Brian, about this problem.
Okay, so what I want us to talk about here for a second, and I'll explain a little bit of this as we go for those of you who haven't worked in a software development world as a profession. There are a lot of open source projects, as you have probably noticed, that fail. And by fail, I mean dwindle away, or even worse, stick around, become de facto, but are buggy as hell, or simply do not get the features they need in the time that we need them in. This happens a lot. This happens a whole heck of a lot, and it happens with a huge number of projects, and it has nothing to do with them being open source or not. This is a problem with all software in general, but I wanted to sit down and talk for a minute because I've given a hard time to a lot of different projects.
Yeah, we
haven't
Xorg.
Yeah, Xorg being one of them.
I got a little pie stuck in my throat.
We don't mince words very often. We kind of like to sell it like it is. And I think there's been the impression that that I or Chris or both of us
not
are,
Chris.
are
Chris
against,
is great. That guy is great. He's very rational.
Are against a number of just open source projects, or are perhaps just against open source in general. And that really isn't the case. So
Brian,
I wanted to talk about the specifics of why so many of these open source projects fail, exactly why, specifically why, and how they can change. How's your lemon pie there, Chris? You are freaking me out. Chris just started eating a lemon pie in my face. My proximity alarm went off, and it's hard. It's hard to
see
think
how
now.
pro you are. See if you can keep going.
I cannot keep going. Not that pro. All right. So here we go. So why is it that so many of them fail? Go ahead. Ask me that question, Chris.
Ryan, why do you think so many projects fail when they've got
Go
really
ahead and
smart...
swallow your lemon cherry pie before you ask me that
I
question.
wasn't ready.
Pro Chris.
Hey, Brian.
Yes, Chris.
Why is it when so many smart people...
I'm glad you asked that, Chris. So what it is and here's the basic high level. It's the software development life cycle and a poor execution of it. Now, in
what
software...
is a software development life cycle?
It is exactly what it sounds like, basically. It is the life cycle of developing software. There are phases in every life and everything, whether it's software, people, dogs, whatever.
Like starts out
There's
as a
life
concept.
cycle. Yeah, exactly. It's documented, it's planned, it's spec'd, then development happens, and testing happens, and documentation happens, and then release, etc. There's a lot of different life cycles that
So
go
like
on.
a beta is a phase of the life cycle.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's also a lot of different approaches to how people develop software, different methodologies that say how we go about it. There is a very traditional old school method that a lot of people call waterfall. And in a nutshell, this isn't fully everything, but here's the quick and dirty of it, is that you document what you want, you spec it out, you create the specifications for your software.
Right.
Developers then take that specifications and develop it. When they're done, they hand it off to the testers who then test it. And then once the bugs have been fixed by the developers...
That seems like a very rigid framework.
They release it.
Like, it seems like,
It
how
is.
do you do something... It seems like you could never spec everything that you want, especially when you maybe are not the person doing the development work, so you don't know all that's involved. And then you would get something, you'd be like, oh, I really want to be able to do this, too. It seems like you could never... That would never work. I'm sorry. It seems like that just doesn't work.
And, well, here's the thing. That waterfall method, that's what has gotten us to this point in most companies. A lot of the Microsoft development was done that way. A lot of Apple development, a lot of Adobe development.
A lot of everybody.
A lot of everybody.
IBM,
the whole kit and caboodle.
Whole kit and caboodle. Brian.
Now there's other methodologies that people can go about. One of the most notable of which is called agile development.
Oh, I thought you were going to say SDLC. Or, yeah.
You mean the software development lifecycle?
Yeah.
You're really
He
catching
said,
up.
don't mention SDLC. I just wanted to get the word in there. The guy in the chat.
Okay. Okay, software development lifecycle, SDLC discussions. If you're in development, people talk about it too much almost, and it gets to the point where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to hear this again.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention it here. So another methodology, and I'm definitely going somewhere with this, so stick with me, people, is called Agile. Agile is basically all the people creating the specifications, the program managers and the developers and the testers are all working together.
They're all in on it.
Like you throw them all in a room. Let's just talk metaphorically, and they're all going to work kind of at the same time.
I got to say, though, that sounds like that would take forever.
It can. And they all work at the same time. They create a bunch of ideas of small features that they want to create, and they create small periods of time that you can call a sprint or an iteration, and basically make that, say, 2 weeks. And say, in this 2 weeks, at the start of this 2 weeks, what do we want to get done? Let's come up with an idea of which of those features we want to get done. Maybe one, maybe none, maybe a ton.
So everybody focuses on
Everyone focuses
that.
on those.
That's
and
interesting.
let's pile on and let's get those done. And then the idea is, because testing and development and specification, everything's going on at once, at the end of that iteration, you'll have finished those features. So
and because
theoretically-
everyone's in on it, you don't have that situation with the waterfall approach where the developer gets back the code to the person that maybe wrote the spec, and it doesn't do this thing that person envisioned, but they didn't write the spec right because they're involved through the whole process with the developer.
Those problems exist anyway.
Oh, okay.
But the idea is that at the end of that particular block of time, that 2 weeks, you're left with an update to your software that is fully shippable. It's tested, it's ready to go, and it has a new feature or two features or what have you. And then there's additional things that you can add on to that called extreme programming, which has things.
I like anything
Have
extreme.
you ever heard of pair programming?
Yeah.
Where you have two guys literally basically sitting at two keyboards that are connected to the same computer, coding with each other on the same bit of code.
That sounds so cute.
It's adorable, and I hate every second of it. I would never recommend it to anyone, even my worst enemy.
I don't know. It sounds like a lot of fun.
It sounds adorable.
Twinsies!
It really is pretty much that way. It's ridiculous. So here's the thing. Now, Agile is great. It's a great methodology. You get people working, and then that makes sure that you can have a rapid release that is stable and tested with minor increments. Now, if you think about it in terms of what we do in open source, let's look at GNOME. GNOME is a great example.
Okay.
Fairly rapid releases.
Every 6 months.
Every 6 months. Not that rapid, but, with incremental.
For a big, huge deal
for
like
a big
that.
thing.
Yeah.
But with incremental improvements, right?
Right.
Okay, now think about that for a second. Okay, got that in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the problem that we run into. In order for an agile approach, such as the one that almost every single open source project undertakes and goes with, is kind of a pseudo-agile. Ubuntu,
it does
Red
kind
Hat,
of seem like
everything is kind of pseudo-agile.
Right.
In order for agile to work, all of the developers, or the vast majority, need to be incredibly senior and dedicated to the work in a very, very full-time way for that given time period.
Now why?
Otherwise, what you end up with is an inability to know how you're going to get done the things that you're going to get done during that time period. If you don't know exactly the resources you have,
then you're the weakest link in the chain.
Then
if
exactly,
you're
and everything crumbles.
If you don't, if you're the guy that's responsible for this piece and the whole process needs this piece to be done in order to continue that sprint,
then none of it finishes. And at the end of that period of time,
that's heavy.
You don't get either one of two things happen.
Gosh.
You ship or one of three things happen.
You ship your project with
one
two
is you
volume
don't
controllers.
Or you ship with two volume controllers, or you ship without the features that you intended to ship with.
Yeah.
All three of which are unacceptable.
Vista.
Yeah, Vista's a great example. Now, however,
Excuse me, I got a little
though that's almost for additional reasons. So here's the problem. A lot of the books out there on open source development very much push this method of development. Very push an agile-ish.
Well, it seems
it's not full agile, but it's agile-ish.
It seems like to keep
if
up
that
with
makes
the
sense.
pace and the release cycles, you'd almost have to.
You have to do something like that.
Yeah. Plus, no open source developer or community person is going to want to sit down and write a spec. That's boring.
Right. Now,
super boring, Brian.
And here's the other thing. If you don't go down that route of the pure agile, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need, and if you stay to a waterfall style, you need to have a very strong leadership position. So you need to have someone who can directly lead exactly what the features are being developed.
Like a Shuttleworth.
Not even a Shuttleworth. A team lead. So let's say you're developing an update to GTK.
Right.
You need either, and let's say there's 10 GTK developers. You need one guy that says, here's exactly what we're working on, that makes the final call. Here's the feature sets. Let's make sure here's these people that are working on the specifications. Here's these people with their design documents. And here's the developers. And here's what each developer is working on and is committed to in this time period.
We get some of that, but not like at that level. Like you have, I think the QT, the KDE guys are really good at kind of setting that, okay, this is going to be our focus for this next release, and we really need to focus on these features and getting these done. But you don't have a guy that's like, all right, I'm just making sure that all of the K-Office stuff is amazing.
Management is what you need. And the thing is,
but that's not what people want to do, Brian.
In most open source development, you don't have that.
Because people want to have fun coding.
And in the cases when we do have that, most of the developers that are contributing and donating their time don't want that and kind of balk at that.
Well, because they might have it in their day job.
And the reality is, the people who are doing the management don't know if they can even count on those people to be able to contribute X number of development hours or test hours or spec hours during a time period. And in the end, we end up with the latest Fedora release.
So do you have a fix? Because this sounds like, I don't know. What's the fix?
Oh, I was hoping you'd come up with one.
Oh, well, I mean, I think you do have some of it because in a lot of ways, like I mentioned at the top of the show in the news segment, you have big companies like Red Hat and Intel that are now very actively involved in the development of different aspects of open source software. And so they probably apply those practices to their development.
Some. but not enough to. No, so here's the problem with software development and how you manage it. You can apply some of the processes,
sure,
but some will do nothing, but ensure that you're completely broken. It's kind of an all or nothing deal.
Huh.
Again, it's the weakest link in the chain sort of idea.
Yeah.
If you don't have it completely right from the top to bottom, it's going to bork, it's going to fail, and you're going to release Vista, i.e. it's going to be late, it's going to be buggy, and no one's going to like it. This is a major problem. And it has nothing to do with it being open source. I want to make that very, very clear. You can have an open source project.
Oh, you see commercial companies do this all the time.
They do this all the time. But the problem is, most of the open source books talk a great deal about this very way. A great example is Cathedral and Bazaar.
Okay.
All right. It's an interesting book. I highly recommend people read it. However, it is dreadfully wrong from top to bottom on how software development actually works. And this is a problem that seems to be going on a lot and is a pervasive idea throughout the open source world. Is there is a general methodology of how we structure the way we develop software, not whether it's open source or not, has nothing to do with it, that ensures that unless the stars align just right, we're not going to release quality software. Now, in some cases, it works. In small cases, it works because you'll have maybe a project where only 1 or 2 devs are working on it, so they can manage themselves.
Here's the thing.
But for big projects, it's a big problem.
The thing, though, is in a lot of ways, these types of problems get course corrected.
I would like to say full props to Eric Raymond, who wrote The Cathedral and the Bazaar. Very smart guy, but his book is completely wrong. All right, continue.
The open source software development model, a lot of times, because all this is done out in the open, and then it's immediately consumed by a community who doesn't have to, like if Adobe does this, say with Adobe Creative Suite CS5,
sure,
people will shell out $2,500, and then they will cry and scream, and they have to wait for Adobe to put out updates. In the open source model, every 6 months there's a course correction made, and it's going to be minor course corrections, but eventually you get the ship on the right path. So while maybe in that first 6 month period...
No, that's the same thing that happens with commercial software, too. The commercial software vendors want to ensure continued sales, so they continually have minor course corrections in order to fix it.
But
it's the same thing.
But as you're saying, I mean, this applies to both commercial and open source.
It's the exact same thing. There's no difference.
But the only difference is as far as... It happens in both instances.
Right.
One cost me $2,500. One cost me my time.
Right.
So... They both suck, but one
exactly.
One, my wife's yelling at me for wasting $2,500, and the other is I wasted an afternoon or an evening.
Right.
So I guess it does suck. The level of impact for the open source side of things is less suck.
I disagree completely. The level of impact is the same on both sides. Are you going? So? If you have a crappy piece of software over here and a great piece of software over here, which one are you going to choose? Not knowing which.
Say it now. Ask me the question again.
All right. Crappy piece of... This pitcher of water on our desk in front of us is a crappy piece of software.
Oh.
And it was this water was given to you free by God himself. He came down and gave you the software.
I want that water.
You know that if you drink it, you will turn purple and be sick for 3 days.
Okay.
This glass over here filled with water is delicious water. If you drink it, you will be extra smart and fully quenched. Which one do you take?
But that's not the software choice.
No, this is the software choice. Which one do you take? One's better, one's worse.
Well, I take the tasty water.
Okay,
well, I don't know, though. I mean, God
on.
gave me this one.
All right, let's say that this guy named Ted gave you that water.
Well,
take
that changes everything.
Okay.
That totally invalidates it. Okay, but here's my point. My point is, though, if Microsoft can ship Vista and we can ship Fedora with 2 volume controllers, the impact from Microsoft doing it is so much greater than Fedora having 2 volume controllers that they're just almost not even in the same league. So while they both had broken processes, one really affects people a lot, and one gets a podcaster on a Linux show complaining a lot.
That's true.
So the impact is not as great.
But
so I'm just saying it's an advantage to the open source.
Are you going to adopt Red Hat? Or the current version of Fedora, would you say?
No.
Would you feel comfortable with everyone having to use 2 volume sliders?
No, but that's because...
Wait, hold on.
That's because there's a better choice.
Exactly.
One that doesn't have the volume slider.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing. Yeah. As long as we have so many problems, we can't.
So what you're proposing is
market share away from commercial software.
So if there's a commercial software,
it's not
doable. So we've been harping on Adobe for some reason, but Photoshop's actually a pretty great piece of software.
It's a great piece of software.
So you're saying as long as Adobe has a pretty ironed out
Great package.
And they continue to deliver with every release.
And GIMP has a bunch of bugs in it, which they do. GIMP's a great package, but it has a bunch of bugs in it. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, how can we possibly migrate a large amount of designers over to GIMP when there's that many bugs? We have to step our game up. We have to learn from both the mistakes of open source and closed source.
Well, it's either that.
Do it better.
It's either that, yes, or we resolve ourselves to the fact that it's going to take a lot longer. As in, we have to wait a lot longer for those minor course corrections
Chris,
over time.
I'm going to die someday.
Oh, although
I do not have time to sit around and wait. I'm not going to wait a year or 2 years or 3 years so I can apply a certain effect to a type of a layer.
What you're saying,
I am not going to do that.
What you're saying, though, is because it's people and a process that is broken, there will always be issues regardless of the releases.
Right. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a problem.
The process is inherently broken. And see, now, in commercial software companies, many of them have addressed this problem. They've kind of learned from it, and they've said, you know what, there's so much money on the line. This costs so much money to have these developers and PMs and everyone else hired. We need to fix this because we're going to go bankrupt.
There's a fair amount of open source projects that actually have some pretty good...
Some.
But you know what's interesting?
But not most.
Is I'm thinking about, though, the ones I have in mind have pretty tight-knit development teams.
Yes.
They have, like, pretty...
And they're either very small or corporate-backed with project management teams.
One that comes to mind, which isn't Linux based, but it's open source. It's not GPL, but the FreeBSD project the core FreeBSD project has a very rigid, very structured design process where there's only a few people allowed to actually commit the actual code, and they sometimes take a little while, but they do. In 2006, they say in 2 years we're going to have this feature, and in 2 years they generally have that feature, and it works fantastic.
Right.
I mean, FreeBSD is great.
FreeBSD is great.
It's not what I prefer to use.
It's not what 99% of people would prefer to use. Unfortunately, it's great. I love it, but I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to put FreeBSD on pretty much anything except for maybe a router.
I think as you get more and more seasoned people, that the issue starts to take care of itself.
But you don't have that. Seasoned people are going to go to companies that pay them.
Yeah, but people still will go home at night and code, or they'll
for
do
how many hours?
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. See, here's the thing: the larger the team you get, the more distributed your team
Probably infinity hours.
The less effective each developer is. So if you think about this from a certain point of view, and anyone who's worked in development knows this for a fact. If you disagree with this and you've worked in development, then you're lying. You haven't actually worked in development. So if you have 10 developers,
you're just wrong.
that's the truth.
You don't know what you're talking about.
That's the truth. I'm not gonna mince words on this one. If you have 10 developers working 40 hours a week and they're great, seasoned, veteran devs,
okay,
they're going to be productive. If they've got a nice lead over them and a good management structure and they're very directed on who's working on what, they make sure that their dependencies are taken care of so no one else is blocking each other. They're getting things done in the right order and on time. It's awesome. Things are firing on all cylinders.
I like cylinders.
Now, those are great. Now, let's say you take 1,000 developers all working for 3 hours a week. How the hell are you going to get 2 specific features done in that time? You are not. It is not going to happen. How can you? Well, it's like trying to control 1,000 angry kittens and make them all poop in the same box. You're not going to get them to poop in that box. 2 of them are going to poop in that box, and 3 of them are going to poop right on your head. And then you're going to wonder, why is there poop on my head? And then why is my lawn covered in cat crap? That's what we have in the open source world. And it's not because the software is open source. It's because we don't have people stepping up and saying, you know what, I'm going to be a development lead. I'm not going to, or a development manager or something along those lines. I'm not going to necessarily code, but I know enough about it. I'm going to dedicate a lot of time to it, and I'm going to organize
all of them.
it.
I think it's definitely true. I think
as a general rule of thumb, it's true.
I think you get to your Canonicals, your Novels, and your Red Hats. I know they have PMs, project managers, and I know they have those types of things. I would like to hear from people out there what your thoughts are on this. Hit us up on either send us a Twitter. I'm Chris LAS. He's Brian with a Y, Brian LAS. Or send us a voice comment.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to hear your opinions.
I'd like to hear people's thoughts on this.
If you know of a open source project that does implement a rigid or a flexible or some kind of formal policy,
development life cycle and management structure.
If you're in a project and you know what you guys you know your process, or if you've if you're familiar with a project that does that, I want to hear about it because I think this is an interesting topic and it might be a problem.
Yeah. Now, in the chat room, Mike points out the problems with different opinions that each dev has. One thinks he has better ideas than the other. That's true. So the more devs you get working on the same project, it's going to stagnate.
Yeah.
So people are going to disagree with each other. People are going to start writing code that contradicts each other's code. You need people to lead it. I mean, not just from a high level like a Mark Shuttleworth standing on a hilltop and saying, let's make it better. Let's make it like a Mac. And then he goes home and uses a Mac.
No, he said specifically, we need to do this in the next release. And then you said,
no,
it's a notification system.
No. Not, okay, everybody, make a notification system. I mean, specifically, here's the exact breakdown of tasks that all our developers need to accomplish.
Okay. I got you.
Here's someone to architect it, exactly one person or one small group of people, and then dictate who exactly is working on what, because these individual people are the right people to work on it.
Okay.
And unless we do that, we're not actually going to beat the Microsofts and the Apples and the Adobes and all the others. We're just not going to. In many ways, we already have. But in the ways that really count, as in replacing those key apps, how can we possibly fight with that when they are trying to make their processes better and we really are not? We're just kind of all glumbled together in this big hodgepodge of kittens pooping everywhere.
Oh, I don't like kitten poop either.
I don't like kitten poop. So this is what I'm saying. This needs to happen. But I would like to hear from you guys. I would like to hear your opinions on this. And if you particularly are a developer on a project and you feel that the project is going well, I would like to hear why it's going well. And if it's going poorly, if you're let's say you're working on Fedora and you, like everyone else in the free world, recognize that the Fedora project is going badly, and you would like to tell us why it's going badly, definitely drop us a voicemail. I would love to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely... I don't know. I see where you're going with this, and I am kind of getting a little concerned. I'm getting a little concerned here, so I want to hear from people because I think there's only so many things you can do to make an improvement, and code-wise, technology-wise. So I do want to hear from everybody out there. I think if you have some experience with this, you probably should weigh in.
Absolutely.
I want to know. I also want to talk about how you can get a hold of us, Brian.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
So, like I mentioned earlier, you've got the forum.
I like the
it's
forum.
It's
Jupiter Colony.
But we want to hear your voice, so we want you to call in. There's a few ways you can do that. You can Skype us.
Oh, nice.
Skype user ID is just Linux Action Show. Leave us a voicemail.
Fancy.
Or call us if you want to use the phone. A little easier for the people in the actual states. Well, Brian, they can reach us at 425-533 2217.
Oh, very nice.
You can email us to my email box. A little overflowed right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you're about 3 weeks behind in the queue if you have an email. But
yeah. So if you really want to get a hold of us and you want to get on the air, the voice route is definitely the best way to do it.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So interesting. We'll have more on this to follow, Brian. Thanks so much for enlightening me with something I'd never actually given much thought to before.
You're so very welcome. I schooled you, Chris.
It's 8 o'clock.
Holy crap, on a hockey stick. Let's wrap the show up and be awesome. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to watch Leverage. Just found Leverage. Great show.
Heard about Leverage.
You not watched it yet? Recommend it. I just started watching it like a couple days ago. Great show.
That's interesting. All right, so next episode we're going to talk about Ubuntu 1, and I was thinking about maybe a little Linux Mint 7.
Yeah, I need to spend some time with Mint 7 over the next week or two.
All right, so let's do a little plugin.
Yeah.
Here we go in 3,
2,
2,
1. I do believe that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast.
Absolutely, and we would like to remind everyone that if you'd like to support the show, you have the wonderful sponsors, that is GoDaddy.com, and our promo code Linux. But we also have our gear store, which you can find over at JupiterBroadcasting.com. There's a link over there. Or you just go to
on the side. Just scroll down a
little bit. Or you go to JupiterBroadcasting.com/store. Heck, go straight to it.
I
don't mind.
I don't care.
We use a lot. Almost everything we use to produce these shows is in that store. Additionally, if you link to Amazon, because it's an affiliate store, from our store, we get credit for a purchase you make.
It's beautiful.
A little bit of money
Just
helps
buy
the
some
show.
stuff.
And, of course, we do have the donations. On the right-hand side of JupiterBroadcasting.com, we have monthly flavors and one-time flavors. If you really enjoy the content that we produce, we very much appreciate those.
And either way, we like the flavor.
We had a huge success with the embedded Ogtheor video from last episode. It did come with a very high cost because the file was so large I had to host it on a little bit more expensive method to host the file. So we incurred quite a high cost.
It took a hit.
So if you're so inclined and you feel like it, we do appreciate those donations.
That would be awesome.
Brian, I want to talk about what we have coming up in a fortnight.
Oh,
for
we got
LINUXACTIONSHOw.
some good stuff coming up. We're going to be covering the we got Ubuntu 1.
We've been running Ubuntu 1 for a little bit now, and we're going to give
Kicking
you
the tires.
our review. Also, it's not for sure yet, but I'm trying to line up someone from Canonical who's involved with the Ubuntu 1 project to come on the show and chat with you. I've put the call out there. I've gotten a couple questions for Ubuntu 1. I apologize, Christopher, if I emailed you, which I did, and said I would be answering those questions in this episode. I will be answering them in next episode.
That's what we meant by this episode.
But
this next episode.
I wanted to get to get it all tied together, and then we're also going to include a Linux Mint 7 review.
Yes,
like
sir.
only the Linux Action Show can do, Brian.
You betcha. That's what we do.
All right, well, we've talked about how you can get a hold of us, so
We have.
I do always
Let's not repeat
appreciate those things.
That would be repetitive.
That would be repetitive. All right, Brian, well, I think that just about wraps up this episode of the Linux Action Show.
I do believe it does. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's say the word week a few more times.
We'll see you in a fortnight in 2 weeks, which is a fortnight
Which is 2 weeks.
this week.
Damn it.
Hey, let's do an intro this time.
Yeah, let's do an intro.
Not a single comment. No one commented about not being... No one commented about the fact there was no intro last
We
week.
just plumb forgot. Maybe we don't need to do intros.
That's what I'm wondering.
Maybe we don't have to work so hard on these fancy production values of
Should we not
ours.
do the intro? Or should we do the intro?
Let's do the intro. Come
We've done
on.
it every episode.
Well, except for one.
Yeah.
Do. I ate a half block of cheese watching this. What? The companion ate a half block of cheese watching the show here. Oh, the companion, you are going to be backed up. That's all I'm saying. No intro equals more time for the show.
How come that looks weird?
It's the same thing as you were having last time. It's condensed after it gets past track 6 or so. You have to expand it more if you want it more expanded. You hover over it and use your scroll wheel to
What?
just hover over the control area to the left. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And scroll wheel that. There you go.
Dude,
I know it's really stupid.
I did not remember that at all. But it's also...
He is not making the poop box. What? He's not making the poop box. Someone in the chat room, I think it's Mike, just said he's not making the poop box.
Does that mean he just crapped his pants?
I really don't know what that means. Oh, you guys. So Chris, you guys are saying Chris needs glasses. The machine and monitor that Chris is controlling right now is literally like
It's
across the room.
It's 8 feet away.
He's got this little wireless mouse he's trying to control it with.
I'm using a wireless mouse here, and then the computer is.
Yeah.
So the camera is 10 feet away, so that would be 8 feet probably ish, right?
Yeah, thereabouts.
So yeah, it does look like I'm blind. I realize now. I realize why everybody kept saying that chair. I'm like, why does everybody keep saying I need to wear glasses? Maybe they should go eat a dunk. I just had to censor myself.
They should go eat a dunk.
I
What the hell does that mean?
I didn't want to say dick.
You already did though.
Well, I just did.
Well, that's a weird thing to say, Chris. So if someone says, Chris, it looks like you have a funny look on your face and you might need glasses. Go eat a dick. What kind of response is that?
A passionate one. This week on the Linux Action Show.
Oh, man. She's got legs. She knows how to use them. you got legs. Wait, you don't say to a lady, give me a dunk job. Wait, what?
You don't say to a lady, give me a dick job either.
Maybe they have different like slogans where Mike's from.
I don't know what to write. I have writer's block right now.
Oh, okay.
I don't like anything I've just written.
All right, everybody. Chris is working on writing the fascinating intro. Me, I can just sit back and relax and have a good time.
What are they saying? I can't read it because I'm writing. You got to tell me. Oh, I didn't cover this.
Oh, that's funny.
I wanted to cover this story.
Which one?
There's a patch in the Linux kernel that gets around the Microsoft VFAT patent.
Oh,
okay. This week on Linux Action Show.
Give me a give me a dunk job. Oh, that's funny on so many levels for me. Oh, guys, I'm having a good time tonight. It's a little warm in here, but I'm having a good time. Oh, 30 glasses of beer and watching the Linux Action Show is the only way to
Google's
fly.
new Chrome OS.
Hey, so if you guys are... So one or two people have asked about Cast of Blast, the one we're doing the next one. We don't know yet. Cast of Blast Season 3 just ended. We don't know when things are coming back. We're still working on that. We were actually just talking about that today, trying to figure out what the details are. We don't know. Well, we'll figure it out. We have ideas. We're kicking them around. The tires, etc., kicking them. But we'll see what comes. We'll see what comes of it. A prequel to Cast of Blast?
That's awesome.
What are we having a prequel to? Dude, we should do just a retro Cast of Blast. Literally pretend like Cast of Blast takes place in like 1985. And just start this day in 1985, and that's the day the show happens on.
That would be...
We just reviewed Top Gun.
Act like, exactly. Like we just got back from...
We just got back.
Yeah. And we're excited about something that's coming. Yeah, that'd be great.
Dude, Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link is coming soon, etc. Except that would get boring to me after one episode, I guess. But it'd be fun. What about the streaming rig? Is it rebuilt? No. So the little rig we were using for streaming died. It died a horrible and painful death. So we had the 24 streaming channel going. It was rocking. We were building up more and more viewers on it. It was awesome, and then it died. It's not rebuilt yet because we need more money. Quite frankly, we don't have enough money to rebuild a whole heck. Rumors about Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home next year. That's pretty good.
That would be good. I hear there's going to be whales.
Oh my gosh, time travel in whales? That's going to be lame. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm hoping we can get the 24/7 stream back up soon. I need to get a new rig set up at my place for that, and that's probably going to be a couple of weeks before that happens because, well, I got to save up my own budget to pull that off because we just don't have enough coming in from donations and advertisers currently to pull off
that's the problem.
All of it. I mean, we were able to kind of save up enough here and there to put together some of our rigs that we had, but when they die, I mean, we were kind of hoping things would last a little longer.
Yeah, and first thing that has to get paid is the bills for Jupiter Broadcasting. And if we have any money left over, which we haven't,
yeah,
then we would buy things like a new streaming.
Now, hopefully, yeah. So I'm going to be putting together the box myself. The old one literally just died. The old box I had it took a giant poop. It was an old Mac Mini, but not that old. It was actually a fairly new Mac Mini, and it just simply...
I was wondering if it was still under warranty.
No. Thanks, Apple.
Yeah, you get like a year's warranty with it.
It was just outside of that.
I was looking at Dell that's like super cheap, 3-year warranty. Why?
It's crazy. It's really
should do like a Hard Drives Northwest.
Hard Drives Northwest is awesome.
That'd be streaming box to have a warranty because that thing just sits there running at maximum temperature all the time.
For a long time, yeah.
That's totally warranty.
Yeah.
That's the problem with a custom build. You almost would need to get like a Hard Drives Northwest or something, so that way
where it's warranted, yeah.
Because it's gonna get hot.
Yeah, you got to make sure there's a great fan.
I just did
because the little Mac Mini, it doesn't really have that good of a fan in it, and honestly, it's a cheap machine.
I just did a crap ton of research on coolers, and there's some really great coolers out there but even then, all right. What's the best way for me to get these show notes to you? Should I just magnify or should I
just make them all big. It's fine. I have glasses on, so I can see it just fine.
All right, how's that? You want to read it first, or?
This week on the Linux Action Show, we go over Google's new Chrome OS, cover why Amazon went all 1984 on 1984. Who contributes the most code to Linux kernel? We will tell you all about it. Then we break down why
I don't like the way that goes.
Yeah, fix it.
Find out.
Chris was writing up the intro, guys, and he did a total crap job. So he's fixing it up real quick here. And I just got a Dropbox notification that it changed. I love Dropbox so much, you guys. I know. Yeah, send the text to my Kindle.
You can. Every Kindle gets like an email address.
Yeah. You can email it to me.
And then it will show up on your Kindle. So you can email yourself like a doc
mm-hmm.
Before you leave the house, and you can read it like on the bus or whatever. It's
yeah, it's really, really slick. Dude, you know what would be epic, crazy cool? Oh. If you could access your Dropbox from your Kindle.
Like the documents?
Yeah.
You know, if
or
you go to
Google Docs from a Kindle.
I bet that will happen.
Oh, that would be crazy.
I bet that will happen.
I would love that.
All right, how's that look to you?
We go over Google's new Chrome OS, cover why Amazon went all 1984. We find out who contributes the most code to Linux kernel, and we will tell you all about it. Then we break down why sometimes open source projects just never get it right, and it's not what you think. Okay, why not? Let's give it a roll.
All right, here we go.
All right.
In a onesie. In a twosie.
So it's more like in a sevensie, is what you're saying?
Shut up, bro.
All right.
Listen to that. Listen to that. Listen to that.
In a 12sie.
Check this out. Check this. Isn't that amazing?
You are pretty amazing with your Heil PR40 Fire Zone. Yeah. Okay, it's not quite as dramatic with this one. It just kind of picks up everything.
Here we go. 3. Okay.
This week on the Linux Action Show, we go over Google's new Chrome OS, cover why Amazon went all 1984 on 1984. We find out who contributes the most code to the Linux kernel, and we will tell you all about it. Then we break down why sometimes open source projects just never get it right, and it's not what you think. Plus so much more. Oh, this week on the Linux Action Show.
I think that might have been the best one you've ever done, and go figure I recorded it in mono. I'll just dupe it. I'll make it stereo, but I think that was probably the best. Just go figure.
There it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's how it's done.
Yeah, that was good.
Write your congressman, ladies and gentlemen.
I've never seen a one take that good before.
You're welcome.
I
brought my I told you earlier I was going to bring my
A game It took you 99 episodes. Actually, 98 because we didn't do it in last episode. But
it took me 98 episodes.
You got it, Brian. You got it.
And no, I do not practice those in the shower.
Oh, you should, though. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. Now that you mention it.
All right, you guys.
Oh, thanks for joining us, everybody.
It is 8 o'clock. So, Mike, what time is it where Mike Linux is right now?
Oh, it's probably like 4 in the morning right now.
I can't even imagine. So, what is it, Mike? Is it 5 a.m. where you are right now? Or is it 5 a.m.? Yeah, it's 5 a.m. Jesus, dude. That's crazy. 4 a.m.
Mike,
where Bob
you are
CFC
nuts.
Look at this. Look at these guys. 4 a.m. and 5 a.m.
Dude, you guys are hardcore.
You guys are awesome.
Man.
Wow. Respect. I'm complaining about it being 8 o'clock.
Respect. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. I'm so sleepy. I'm an old guy.
Thanks, you guys. You guys are rad.
I broke into my horribly mocking Japanese accent there. That was